Gudrun's Incitement. Having slain Atli, Gudrun went to the seashore. She went out into the sea and would destroy herself, but could not sink. She was borne across the firth to the land of King Jörmunrekkr, who married her. Their sons were Sorli, Erp, and Hamdir. There was reared up Svanhild, the daughter of Sigurd. She was given in marriage to Jörmunrekkr the Powerful. With him lived Bikki, who counselled Randver, the king's son, to take her. Bikki told that to the king, who caused Randver to be hanged, and Svanhild trodden under horses' feet. When Gudrun heard of this, she said to her sons, "Then heard I tell of quarrels dire, hard sayings uttered from great affliction, when her sons the fierce-hearted Gudrun in deadly words to slaughter instigated. Why sit ye here? Why sleep life away? Why does it pain you not joyous words to speak, now Jörmunrekkr, your sister, young in years, has with horses trodden, white and black in a public way, with grey and way-wont Gothic steeds? Ye are not like to Gunnar and the others, nor of soul so valiant as Hogni was. Her ye should seek to avenge, if ye had the courage of my brothers, or the fierce spirit of the Hunnish kings." Then said Hamdir, the great of heart, "Little didst thou care Hogni's deeds to praise when Sigurd he from sleep awaked. Thy blue-white bedclothes were red with thy husband's gore, with death blood covered. For thy brothers thou didst over-hasty vengeance take, dire and bitter, when thou thy sons didst murder. We young ones could on Jörmunrekkr, acting all together, have avenged our sister. Bring forth the arms of the Hunnish kings, thou hast us stimulated to a sword-mote." Laughing, Gudrun to the storehouse turned. The kings' crested helms from the coffers drew, their ample corslets, and to her sons them bore. The young heroes loaded their horses' shoulders. Then said Hamdir the great of heart, "So will no more come his mother to see, the warrior felled in the Gothic land, so that thou the funeral beer after us all may drink, after Svanhild and thy sons." Weeping Gudrun, Giuki's daughter, sorrowing went, to sit in the forecourt, and to recount with tear-worn cheeks, sad of soul, her calamities in many ways. 3 fires I have known, 3 hearths I have known, of 3 consorts I have been born to the house. Sigurd alone to me was better than all, of whom my brothers were the murderers. Of my painful wounds I might not complain, yet they even more seemed to afflict me, when those chieftains to Atli gave me. My bright boys I called to speak with me, for my injuries I could not get revenge, ere I had severed the Hniflung's head. To the seashore I went, against the Norns I was embittered. I would cast off their persecution. Bore and submerged me not the towering billows. Up on land I rose, because I was to live. To the nuptial couch I went, as I thought better for me, for the 3rd time, with a mighty king. I bore forth offspring, guardians of the heritage, Jörmunrekkr's sons. But around Svanhild bond-maiden sat, of all my children, her I loved the best. Svanhild was, in my hall, as was the sunbeam, fair to behold. I with gold adorned her, and with fine raiment, before I gave her to the Gothic people. That is to me the hardest of all my woes, that Svanhild's beauteous locks should in the mire be trodden under horses' feet. But that was yet more painful when my Sigurd they ingloriously slew in his bed, though of all most cruel, when of Gunnar the glistening serpents to the vitals crawled, but the most agonizing, which to my heart flew, when the brave king's heart they quickly cut out. Many griefs I call to memory, many ills I call to memory. Guide, Sigurd, thy black steed, thy swift course, hither let it run. Here sits no son's wife, no daughter, who to Gudrun precious things may give. Remember, Sigurd, what we together said, when on our bed we both were sitting, that thou, brave one, shouldst come to me from hell's abode, but I from the world to thee. Raise, ye jarls, an oaken pile, let it under heaven the highest be. May it burn a breast full of woes, the fire round my heart its sorrow melt. May all men's lot be bettered, all women's sorrow lessened, to whom this tale of woes shall be recounted. The Lay of Hamdir. In that court arose woeful deeds, at the Alfar's doleful lament. At early morn, men's afflictions, troubles of various kinds, sorrows were quickened. It was not now nor yesterday, a long time since has passed. Few things are more ancient. It was by much earlier, when Gudrun, Giuki's daughter, her young sons instigated Svanhild to avenge. She was your sister, her name Svanhild, she whom Jörmunrekkr with horses trod to death white and black on the public way, with grey and white-wand Gothic steeds. Thenceforth all is sad to you, kings of people. Ye alone survive, branches of my race. Lonely I am become, as the asp tree in the forest, of kindred bereft, as the fir of branches, of joy deprived, as is a tree of foliage, when the branch spoiler comes in the warm day. Then spake Hamdir, the great soul, little, Gudrun, didst thou care Hognid's deeds to praise, when Sigurd they from sleep awaked, on the bed thou satst, and the murderers laughed. Thy bedclothes, blue and white, woven with cunning hands, swam in thy husband's gore. When Sigurd perished, over the dead thou satst, caredst not for mirth, so Gunnar willed it. Atli thou wouldst afflict by Erp's murder, and by Eitil's life's destruction. That proved for thyself the worse. Therefore should every one so against others use for life's destruction a sharp-biting sword, that he harm not himself. Then said Sorli, he had a prudent mind, I with my mother will not speeches exchange, though words to each of you to me seem wanting. What, Gudrun, dost thou desire, which for tears thou canst not utter? For thy brothers weep, and thy dear sons, thy nearest kin, drawn to the strife. For us both shalt thou, Gudrun, also have to weep, who here sit fated on our steeds, far away to die. From the court they went, for conflict ready. The young men journeyed over humid fells, on Hunnish steeds murder to avenge. Then said Erp all at once, the noble youth was joking on his horse's back, ill 'tis to a timid man to point out the ways. They said the bastard was overbold. On their way they had found the wily jester. How will the swarthy dwarf afford us aid? He of another mother answered, so he said aid he would to his kin afford, as one foot to the other, or, grown to the body, one hand the other. What can a foot to a foot give, or, grown to the body, one hand the other? From the sheath they drew the iron blade, the falchion's edges, for hell's delight. They their strength diminished by a third part, they their young kinsmen caused to earth to sink. Their mantles then they shook, their weapons grasped, the highborn were clad in sumptuous raiment. Forward lay the ways, a woeful path they found, and their sister's son wounded on a gibbet, wind-cold outlaw trees, on the town's west. Ever vibrated the ravens wet, there to tarry was not good. Uproar was in the hall, men were with drink excited, so that the horse's tramp no one heard until a mindful man winded his horn. To announce they went to Jörmunrekkr that were seen helm-decked warriors. Take ye counsel, potent ones are come, before mighty men ye have on a damsel trampled. Then laughed Jörmunrekkr, with his hand stroked his beard, asked not for his corslet, with wine he struggled, shook his dark locks, on his white shield looked, and in his hand swung the golden cup. Happy should I seem if I could see Hamdir and Sorley within my halls. I would them then with bowstrings bind, the good son of Giuki on the gallows hang. Then said Rudrglod, on the high steps standing, Prince, said she to her son, for that was threatened which ought not to happen, shall 2 men alone bind or slay 10,000 Goths in this lofty burg? Tumult was in the mansion, the beer cups flew in shivers, men lay in blood from the Goths' breasts flowing. Then said Hamdir the great of heart, Jörmunrekkr, thou didst desire our coming, brothers of one mother, into thy burg. Now seest thou thy feet, seest thy hand Jörmunrekkr cast into the glowing fire. Then roared forth a godlike mail-clad warrior, as a bear roars. On the men hurl stones, since spears bite not, nor edge of sword, nor points, the sons of Jörmunrekkr. Then said Hamdir the great of heart, Harm didst thou, brother, when thou that mouth didst ope. Oft from that mouth bad counsel comes. Courage hast thou, Hamdir, if only thou hadst sense. That man lacks much who wisdom lacks. Oft would the head now be, had but Erp lived, our brother bold in fight, whom on the way we slew, that warrior brave. Me the Disir instigated, that man sacred to us, whom we resolved to slay. I ween not that ours should be the wolf's example, that with ourselves we should contend like the Norns' dogs, that voracious are in the desert nurtured. Well have we fought, on slaughtered Goths we stand, on those fallen by the sword like eagles on a branch. Great glory have we gained, though now or tomorrow we shall die. No one lives till eve, against the Norns' decree. There fell Sorley at the mansion's front, but Hamdir sank at the house's back. This is called the Old Lay of Hamdir. Recording by Kathrine. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org.